You have just tapped into the Christian Life Coach Collective, and I'm your host, Laura Malone. I'm here to equip and encourage coaches in skills, business, personal life, and faith. I believe you're already 100% worthy and capable, and you're called for such a time as this. So let's get you walking it out with courage and confidence so you can be an amazing coach who sees transformation and great results in both your life and the lives around you. Let's get started. In the last episode, we talked about the difference between a coaching niche and a coaching method. And I started thinking, right, like as I was actually recording it, that I haven't talked in a long time about what coaching is and what coaching isn't. So I thought maybe now is a good time to bring this conversation back to life for some of you who, weren't there for episode 1. You're not going all the way back to it. And instead you're joining the Christian Life Coach Collective around episode 310. So I wanted to make it easier to find in the list. And also my own version of what coaching is and isn't has expanded. It's evolved and grown over the past few years of 310 episodes. So even in that, I just want to be able to share what I look at coaching as, what I think it definitely isn't, and also what I think it can be blending with, what it can really dovetail with well in a way that helps benefit you as a coach, as a coachpreneur, a business owner, and also really be a blessing to the transformation and the growth and the results in your clients' lives. So I think, first of all, in the foundation of it, I absolutely believe that coaching is becoming a guide who reaches out your hand and says to someone in particular, I will walk with you on this journey. I will go with you from point A to point B, right? So it's about being able to notice the places where growth is possible for somebody and helping them find their next right step. It's not about telling them they have to walk your roadmap, right? It's not about telling them exactly what you did and expecting it to work the same way for them without respect and honor for their unique perspective and desires and the way they would go about doing something naturally, because the way they would do it in walking out their journey, that's going to be the most sustainable, right? At their pace. And it's definitely not you giving them a workbook that they have to fill out alone, like while you're championing and cheerleading on the sidelines, like, yay, you've got this, like, just, fill out all those reflection questions. Coaching is really personal and high touch and very individual. And it starts with a coach and a client both having an active presence. So a life coach actually sees the gold in you sometimes before you can see it for yourself. They hold space for your process without rushing it or rushing you. They know how to ask great questions that are like keys that will unlock the doors for you. They help you get clear about where you're going, help you figure out what you need to do, how do you walk towards where you're going? And they help you become the person that you're becoming. They actually help you be that person. The person, even sometimes they help you be the person you already are that you are struggling to see, or maybe the person that you forgot about, Mentoring is a little bit different. It's mentoring says, this is what I've walked through. Let me give you what I've got, what I have to give in my wisdom and my experience. And coaching is you already have something in you. I want to help draw that out. Consulting is like saying, this is the way I say you need to do it. And again, coaching is there is a way that will work best for you. Let's talk about what you think that might be. Teaching is here. This is the way that you could do a thing. Here's the education. Here's the knowledge that you need to know for you to go do your thing. Coaching is, I believe that you can learn what you need to know so that you can do what it is you want to do. How can I help you in that? So there's consulting, there's mentoring, there's teaching. And so there's counseling, right? And counseling says, let's look into the past and say, how has that affected who you are today? How did you get here? How have you been affected by it? And let's bring healing to that. That's not what coaching is, right? Coaching is, this is where we are today. This is where we want to get to in the future. And this is the path that I'm going to help you figure out to get from point A to point B. We're not looking into the past. We can understand and be aware of the past, but we're not going to bring healing to the past that has been brought into the present. We're just going to look at the present and determine how to best get into the future you desire as my client with the knowledge that you have about the past. So it's a little bit about what it is and what it isn't there. Coaching is never, ever counseling. You can be a counselor and a licensed therapist who helps a client as you bring coaching into your counseling. Coaches never add counseling to their coaching because as a coach, you are not a licensed therapist. You have not gone to school or passed the exams and been licensed by anybody as a counselor or therapist. So that's never what we do, right? Now, I want to, I guess, throw a little caveat on here. What I do is often a blend. I wear multiple hats depending on what is needed, what my client's looking for. I have some clients, like in the story makers sessions, like that's my life coaching area. The division of my business is story makers and legacy builders, right? We've got story makers are the ones who book sessions with me because they want life coaching in some area where we're talking about, what they're facing and the point A that they're at and the point B that they want to get to. And then I have legacy builders. That is clients who are coaches who want to become better coaches, want to become a coach, want to grow their business or start their business, want to figure out their niche, create an offer, create a signature program, like that kind of work where it's the coaching business side of things. But in Storymakers, in both of them, I have a blend of where I can be a consultant coach. And also I can offer some mentoring in areas that I've been in. So if I have a client in Storymakers who says, I am a homeschooler and I'm really struggling with my resentment towards the fact that I'm at home all day long with my kids. I've been doing it for 10 years. My husband comes home from work every day. He's so fulfilled and he's had adult interaction and he works with people who, listen to what he says. And I am really struggling because I don't have any of that. Well, I can say from a mentoring perspective, I have been there. I so get where you're at. And here's what helped me when I struggled with that, when I wanted to get to a different place in my homeschooling journey. So I can mentor because I've been there and I've done that. And I am 10 years ahead of that person. And sometimes I'm only 1 year ahead of that person. But what I do know is that I can help them where they're at because of what I've been through. And as a consultant, I can, if I have actual, okay, this is what I think you should do for somebody who says, um, I want to start a nonprofit or a ministry. I can offer consulting because I have actually done that, and I can actually consult them on what steps they need to take to go from point A. I don't have a framework or a mission statement to point B. I have filled out the paperwork. I have reached out to potential donors, and I have asked some people to partner with me. And I can actually consult them on what actual steps they need to take along the way. But what I do is I blend it with coaching in the context that I can ask them questions to say, okay, I've given you from a mentoring perspective what I've done. I can give you information from a consulting perspective of what I suggest. I can even teach you some things that you need to know. But when I blend coaching with that, what I do is I say, what resonates for you? What feels right for you? I create options for them and say, here's a possibility. And especially in consulting, what I'll do is say, I could see that you probably have 3 options. Would you like to take option 1, 2, or 3? Which one feels like it's more sustainable for you? Like you would definitely show up for that. So I offer them the opportunity to step up, see what rises up for them, what feels like it's in alignment with who they are and how they would take action. And then I get behind that. And then I coach them in the space of, okay, what feels like a mental block to you? What are you afraid of taking action on? What are you experiencing as you walk down this journey? Like now I'm just walking with you. So I blend consulting with coaching when my client wants that. So I actually can work with somebody with the conversation of, what is it you want and need from me? Do you really need me to just be a person who holds space, listens well, and asks great questions to unlock doors for you personally? Or do you need someone who has knowledge, experience, wisdom, skills that I have that can help you know exactly what you need to do and then walk with you as you take those steps? Which one do you need? Do you need to hear that I have been where you have been and offer some mentoring in that? Or do you need some consulting because you need someone to actually tell you what to do? I will say that I wish that more people would have been there in my life to tell me what to do in a simple and streamlined manner, in a way that would feel effective and efficient to me. And I didn't find those people, which is why I'm passionate about creating that opportunity for you. I want to give you the steps to take if you want to be a coach, if you want to start a business, if you want to grow your business. I actually want to be able to tell you what to do, but with options that can be contextualized to who you are and how you would best take those actions. So sometimes clients want to do something that you have never done before, like write a book or launch a retreat or heal from some type of loss that you haven't personally gone through. And that is when that pure, just straight coaching really shines. You don't need to have someone else's exact experience to help them move forward, because you have tools and training as a coach. So you know how to help clients get clarity and remove the blockers, map a plan out, and stay accountable as they're walking it out. So when it's time for a challenge, um, in my coaching relationships, I bring it. I'm that kind of person, that kind of coach. I'm not trying to bring pressure. I'm just trying to bring purpose and help a client name what's really going on and discern what is the path that's most aligned for them, even if it feels hard, even if it's a challenge for them, or maybe they want to go down a path that I'm like, well, it feels like that choice might be being informed by a past narrative that you have said you don't want to operate from anymore. And so, like, I will try to lovingly bring a challenge to say, are you sure that that's where you want to go? Because does that line up with this truth that you determined in a different session or other things? I'm seeing some things are out of alignment. So I might offer a challenge and say, what do you think about that? So coaching is really just being a partner on the journey. And no matter what your client wants to do, if they want to lose weight or write a book or restore relationships, build businesses, whatever it is, you don't actually have to be the answer. You just have to be the person that helps them find their answer. So I like to think of it like Legos again, like laying out the coaching pieces that I have, the clarity tools, the great questions, the frameworks to renew your mindset, um, practicing, actually listening and hearing what you're thinking. And then the client decides which ones fit the foundation that they're building. Some of those Legos are going to click together really quickly, really easily, and some might need to be reshaped a little bit, and some we don't need to use till later. So there's no wrong way about all of that. And your path into coaching is your own. And that might, with my content, when I create a blog post or a podcast episode or a resource for the Facebook group, all of that is where my teaching happens. And then when I'm in session, I'm always coaching, and it is sometimes blended with mentoring and sometimes blended with consulting. Most often, it's blended with consulting on the legacy builder side of things because I have a framework that I can say, let's go from this point A where you are, I'm not a coach or I don't have a business, to this point B that you want to go to. So on the podcast, I get to weave all of this in a little bit, but if you were sitting across from me as a client, you'd be doing most of the talking because coaching starts with listening, and the best tools in a coach's pocket usually looks like a question. So it's not just like any question you pull out of the air, it's the right question that's for the client right now. Over the next few episodes, I'm going to talk about kind of using these Legos to build a coaching business that fits your story. So we're going to talk about how to find your niche, in a way, how to define it from understanding your own lived story, your own core message, and how to use that to create a clear offer and guide other people, not by carrying their load and doing the work for them, So that's the context of what I want you to understand about coaching. It's, to me, like a modern day form of discipleship, not like a rigid church format, but in a real relational, let's walk together kind of way. So, and I think traditional settings, discipleship might look like a class or a course or somebody teaching or talking at you. But coaching is like coming to a table, like a reservation somebody makes on purpose for a restaurant because they're hungry and they want the experience, they want the transformation. You get to serve something to them that's been made, like a dish that is made just right for them in this moment in their season. So sometimes as a coach, you might work with other believers. Sometimes you will coach maybe in a corporate space or online, or it doesn't matter. Everything you do is useful inside and outside of the walls of faith, because being a Christian is not about religious performance, right? It's about a relationship, and coaching is just a relationship. Every client I work with knows I love Jesus, and some want prayer and some don't. And that is totally okay. Like, still shine in the light. My posture of love doesn't change for the one that's right in front of me. I think that coaching is a very special place that's kind of like a set apart relationship where the client is invited to think and feel and notice and take ownership in a way that very few relationships and environments allow. So it's a relationship build on trust and presence, curiosity, um, intentional growth. It's less about what you teach and more about how you see your client. So in coaching, we're not leading with our advice, even if we have advice to give, like through mentoring or consulting. We're not leading with that. That is not the crux of coaching. We're definitely not trying to fix anybody or rescue them. And we're not centering ourselves as the expert on them or what needs to get done. We're, as a coach, we're the expert at listening and asking great questions, right? Holding space for somebody to become more aware, more alive, more aligned with who they really are, what they really want, and how to go after it. So I think of coaching as an act of witnessing and inviting. You're witnessing the client's reality without judgment. You're inviting them into deeper truth without pressure. It often looks like just listening deeply and asking powerful questions and reflecting what you see. But it's more than a skill set. It's really a posture of presence more than performance. When you operate from that, you reflect it and model it to your clients. It's operating from humility, not from hustle, and being curious rather than trying to have control. So you've heard me talk about what coaching isn't. It's not therapy. Therapists are trained to diagnose, treat, support people in emotional crisis, deep trauma. But as coaches, we don't diagnose. We just try to discern. We're not treating them. We are walking with them, and we're focused on the present and the future, not the pathology of their past. So we're going to talk more in episode 313 about becoming a consultant coach and how to blend those roles. But we want to always remember that coaching, no matter whether you're a mentor coach, a pastoral coach, a consultant coach, whatever that is, coach is the key. We're always trying to ask the question to the client, what do you believe? What do you want? What is in your way? What is the right next step for you, right? It's not about offering the answers. It's about helping somebody access wisdom they already have that's very personal. So that actually creates it a more sustainable way for them to stay on the path, be consistent. So when you start coaching this way, with this clarity, I think everything can really change if you're confused about this. Because you won't feel like an imposter because you're not trying to impress anybody. You're not going to spend all your time overthinking, over prepping for your sessions because you're just going to trust the process. And you're not going to push and rush results because you're going to have respect and honor for your client's personal, unique pace and purpose. So coaching is a very powerful process. And I know that both of those, when you put power and process, what is the word for that? Almost oxymoron. It's not, but I think knowing this, it makes a difference because we think of power, we think of like, boom, like a major moment of aha. But we have to see that the booms and the ahas actually arrive inside of a slower, quieter process. When that process is done well, it actually changes lives, not just for the client, but for you as a coach too. When I see the light come on in somebody's eyes and I hear themselves like actually say, wow, or they say the truth to themselves out loud, when they take personal ownership and responsibility for their own stories, it reminds me why I started coaching. It helps me keep going when everything feels noisy, hard, overwhelming, when it feels like nothing is working, when nobody's listening. So if you are sitting there listening and wondering, like, am I even doing this right? I just want you to ask this, like, are you being present? Are you listening with curiosity and being loving? Are you willing to walk with somebody, not just rush them into a solution? If you can say yes to that, then you are coaching. You might still be learning. You might still be getting the tools and the language and the structure, and that's all good, but you're already doing the deep work of listening, being present, asking questions, being curious, and just reaching out your hand and saying, I'm going to walk with you. So I would challenge you to find somebody and ask them, like, what do you think coaching is? And then think about how would you explain it to them? And how would you say what it is and what it isn't now that you've listened to this episode? Not thinking of like, how would you pitch it to somebody? What's your elevator speech? Like, not that. Not trying to come up with a signature program name for your coaching. Like, what is the heart of coaching? What do other people see it as? Coaching is how I walk out the Great Commission, like one client, one story at a time, using the tools that God's put in my hands, the things that I've learned, the things I've cultivated, what I'm growing in. I'm constantly going after more content, more courses, more learning. Like I'm trying to learn everywhere I turn about what people need, how people are doing it, what God is saying, how He says to do it. And I want to help you do the same thing. So if that stirs something up for you, you might be the kind of coach that the world is really needing right now. And we're going to keep talking about how to know if you're called to coach and all of the basics of what you need to know if you're stepping into it. And I will say that if you've listened this far, you probably are somewhat called to coach if you've gotten this far in the episode. Definitely if you've listened to 310 episodes. But I want to make sure that you are equipped, that you're encouraged, and that you know that you have a guide that's willing to walk with you on your journey from point A to point B. So let's start walking, and I'll talk to you in the next episode. Have a great week. Thanks for listening. For more coaching resources and to learn how to work with me, head to sterlingandstonementoring.com or click the link in the show notes. Remember, walk boldly in your calling, and I'll talk to you next time.